people, welcome to Perth WAtch, your horology channel, broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have the pleasure to feature the newest release from Yema watches, or Yema. I have reviewed the Navy Graph before. I'll put a screenshot right here and links, but this is a double or a couple that I have been sent to review. They are prototypes, I have to send them on, but you know, it comes in a box. Let me just test the spinability, and that is a solid 4 out of 5, I reckon. So I'm gonna try to get through this fairly quickly because I've got lots to do. Leather warranty card, this seems to be what is going to be promised, which is pretty cool. It does come with a little bit of a brochure showing some of the cool history behind the brand, but I'm not going to spend time on this. I believe the Kickstarter watches will come with a Time of Heroes booklet, so a kind of like book that they will publish and provide with Kickstarter pieces. Travel case in leather, which is pretty cool. Always like the practicality of travel cases whenever companies provide it. It's got the links I've removed in there. Okay, so we're going to put that aside and show you these watches in closer detail. So the couple I have been sent are these. They are the new Wristmaster from Yema. So this one obviously has a very much more vintage vibe about it. It is a modern update of a vintage model from Yema, right? Redesigned and spec'd up to modern sensibility on leather strap here. While this one is I guess a more modern update of one of their vintage models, but much more modern redesign here on steel bracelet. Okay, so these are both Wristmasters. This one is called the Adventurer. Okay, so this is the Wristmaster Adventurer. The Kickstarter price is €399 with an MSRP eventually of $590. The Kickstarter is already fully funded, well above $1 million as I've checked it last 2 days. I'm sure they've gone on to more success. So jump on it if you want to still get the Kickstarter price. I don't know what it's gone up to now. I honestly would call this the Classic rather than Adventurer. This one, on the other hand, they've called the Traveler, which I rather call the Sport. That's my opinion. This is how these watches feel. And this one, of course, is a little bit more spec'd up with the steel bracelet. Kickstarter price €499, MSRP eventually of €790, which is starting to get slightly more on the steep side of things. Now, let's move on to further details here. So the movement in both these watches are the same. It is the in-house caliber Yema 2000, specs down the middle here. You can look at it, pretty high jewel count and standard power reserve of 42 hours. It does have quick set date. In both these watches, they are implemented at a 3 o'clock position. The one on the right, the Traveler, you can see it's actually a color matched date wheel on this occasion here. Does have hacking, does have manual winding. The regulated accuracy, they aim for plus or minus 10. The Adventurer on the left actually is running about plus 4 seconds per day. In the last 5 days, I've been running this, whereas the Traveler on the right is running slightly slow at minus 2 seconds a day. Okay, so first up, I'm going to cover the Adventurer here. So the case dimensions, I'm going to just put it down. You guys can see all the details as I pan the watch around for you guys to see. Relatively light on leather strap at only 70 grams. Finishing wise, we're getting longitudinal brushing across the top. Very simple transition, but well done transition to polished sides there, and circular brushing at the bottom here. We're getting a screw down case back here, which is solid, right? And it's got that Yema crest and a push in sign crown with polished finishing here. They have, however, stipulated this to be 100-meter water resistant rating, which is kind of everyday rating, but I would be hesitant to take this far underwater because it is just a push crown. Moving on to the dial now. Here is a matte blue convex edge dial. I think it is a convex edge, but that Hasselite crystal makes it difficult to be sure. Printed details and chapter ring, and nicely applied, very well done faceted indices here, and as well as a applied date window. The hands are polished, simple rectangles, and there's a simple stick for the seconds, lume on the two main hands, and 11 small pips on the dial. Lume shot, of course, for you guys to see how it looks like in the dark. Now, on top of the dial, possibly one of the stars here is a box Hasselite crystal, acrylic type of material, so scratches easily but very, very hard to break. In fact, it's shatter resistant, which is why the Moonwatch uses Hasselite crystal. If it scratches, you can buff it out with specific polishing creams, but you got to beware, it is something that will easily scratch. I've kept it scratch free so far. This strap is nothing really to write home about. It's a drab brown leather with accent stitching here that you can see, and interestingly, I'm not sure why they have done a matte finish or sandblasted finish buckle rather than something that matches the case, but here we have it. So let's put it on the wrist for a wrist shot for you guys now. And there we have it, the Wristmaster Adventurer on my 17cm wrist. Remember, the case is not very big at all, 37mm. The glass itself is 33.5mm wide, in case I forgot to put that. Only 12.5mm thick. And there it looks like. So the lug-to-lug distance, fairly modest, or I guess fairly standard at 48mm, I have to say. And it's very light, very comfortable, very easy to forget because it is only 70 grams. Okay, enough about that one. Let's move on to the second watch, the Traveler here. So case dimensions, I'm going to kind of show it to you again down the bottom, just the details, just to stipulate that the bezel is actually 36mm wide. In case you're wondering, it's a 39mm case, but of course there is a gap between case and bezel diameter. Okay, and then for the lug-to-lug distance, all right, what is stipulated is between my thumbs here at 43.5, very short, but really it's a male end link. So really between my thumbs here, it's 48mm. Just in case you're wondering how this measures up, I think it's fairly standard because realistically, that's really where the lugs kind of end. Okay, so finishing wise, longitudinal brushing on the top, and it's got a kind of a smooth transition here to where the lug kind of angles down. Longitudinal brushing at the side as well as the bottom with circular brushing on the case back. It does have a bottom polished bevel, a top polished bevel, as well as a polished bevel on the bezel there. So, nice transitions, pretty well done. These are actually very nicely done, particularly at this relatively sharp price point. It's actually very nicely finished. Screw down solid case back, just like the Adventurer, and a kind of a slightly different finish on the crown there, but it is a push crown, it is not a screw down crown. Similarly, it is a 100-meter water rating they've gone for here. Moving on to the dial, so here is a matte black dial. In this case, there's no applied elements, it's actually all printed details, printed chapter ring, as well as the perimeters of the indices here, and the date window has a square that's printed around it. It is polished arrow and baton hands, and the arrow does have a bit of a break in it where the lume is divided into 3 different sections. Simple white colored stick for the seconds, lume on the 2 main hands, as well as the 11 visible indices, and these are quite thick blobs and they do glow very nicely all the way through the night. Lume shot, of course, for you guys to see how it might glow in the dark. Moving on to the glass then, which is in this case a very lightly domed. It's not a box dome, but it's a very lightly domed sapphire. I appreciate that they've gone for a slight dome rather than a simple flat sapphire. Always like my domes here. Moving on to the bracelet then. So this is longitudinal brushed here, integrated bracelet, as you can obviously see here. What do you call that? Do you call that a U-link? I guess I might call that a U-link bracelet, right? Solid piece there. Polished sides, which is an interesting decision because it's incongruous with the case. I guess they should have kept the top polished bevel and the bottom polished bevel with, brushing on the side. I reckon they should have done that, but, it is what it is here. Push pin and collar adjustment, not screw, but push pin collars are just about the most secure you can get. And this one is actually pretty well done. Nice kind of friction on the collars there. The bracelet tapers from a width of 23.5 near the case to 20mm in the narrowest section. As you can see, it is a push button release butterfly deployment crafts, no micro adjustment as a result. which might be a little bit of a gripe for some people. Okay, that's it for the description. Snap it on for you guys. And there we go, Wristmaster Traveler on my 17 centimeter wrist. So, you know, and the male ends here. The end link is 48 millimeter, lug to lug, I should say, 39 millimeter case, and only 12.5 on thickness. And that's how it looks like on that bracelet. Okay, that's it, guys. That's the description. Now, I'm just going to go through the pros and cons of these watches. Of course, I covered this first, so I'm going to mention that. I think it's a pretty sharply priced, good quality and spec European-made manufactured watch. You know, I mean, this is a French-made Yema. It's a in-house caliber Yema 2000 movement. This is really what you're getting, and for the price of 399 euros on Kickstarter, it is pretty sharp, I have to say. It is a high beat in-house movement, you know, pretty good quality finishing, especially the dial. The dial is really interesting and really quite gorgeous. The finishing on the case is, you know, nothing to complain about. Nothing is going to beat this at 399 price point. You know, it's given you 100 meter water resistant. And for this watch, you know, also 100 meter water resistant, pretty good finishing as well. You're getting sapphire and a bracelet that I have to say, despite the finishing concerns, is pretty well done. It drapes very nicely. This links, you know, the kind of tolerances between them are very good, and it's very comfortable to keep on. And I have indeed worn this for 3 days in a row, and it's very easy to just keep wearing it. The dials, I think, are really quite attractive, especially this one. This one with those characterful indices really is very interesting, I feel. And this one, you know, it's pretty good as well. And like a vintage upgrade is what it is. Weaknesses, I would say the strap is really nothing to write home about. It's really only so-so. I would like to see more options, and I think they have more options on accessories on the website. It's a Hesalite crystal, which is characterful, something I can enjoy, but because it's so easy to scratch, it's not for beginners. For beginners, maybe a sapphire option would be appreciated. You know, charge more, give a sapphire. That might be a good option for some people. For this watch, the Traveler, the integrated lugs, the butterfly clasps, that would be a negative for some because, you know, you can't swap straps. You got no on-the-fly micro adjustments. Some people really hate butterfly deployment. I know, so for me, this watch does happen to fit okay on my particular wrists. I've mentioned already there's a slight incongruity on the finishing on the bracelet here. You know, they should have, I think, gone for, you know, just horizontal brushing on the sides. I reckon that would be, I guess, more unified as an overall design. With a non-functional bezel on this watch, you know, last comment here, I would prefer a slightly larger dial. You know, that 5 millimeters or so from the edge of the dial to the edge of the case is not really functional. I guess if you like those 6-sided indents, you know, whatever it calls back to from the vintage design, you might enjoy this. I reckon I would prefer either giving a bigger dial or you know, shave down the case, I reckon. And there we go. These are my thoughts on these two watches, which really I think are quite good and honestly very sharply priced. Grab them or jump on Kickstarter before it finishes. That's it, guys, for my thoughts. Let's flip it around now for the wrap up. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that quick fire review. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Always look forward to the discussion from my viewers. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys again next time.